Oh, what's going on, GameLeap? This is the Jizz, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 15 best mid laners for patch 12.3, because 12.3 has hit the rift. Can you believe it? We've got so many item changes to the bruiser and fighter items in the game, and we've also got some buffs and nerfs coming to mid lane champions that are really going to shape up the mid lane landscape for this current patch. So let's get into this countdown, but just before we do, make sure you check out the GameLeap website, linked in the description and comment section for all your League of Legends needs. We're talking courses, guides, fundamentals. You are 100% by signing up to get that exclusive access to these videos going to improve and become the best player you can be, mainly because I'm making videos on there as well to help you improve. So check out those links down below. And coming in at number 15 on this countdown is a champion who's been dominating pro play in the last few patches, and this is Twisted Fate. And Twisted Fate for 12.3 has been nerfed, so he's got two nerfs coming in. Now the first of these is to his E's attack speed. So what lots of Twisted Fates do in the mid lane is actually get their E, especially into melee matchups, so they have the attack speed to control the wave and hopefully hit level 2 first. It's a lot of attack speed as well. It used to be 20%, now it's 10%, which means that trading with melee champions and even controlling the wave against ranged champions is going to be more difficult. But Riot have also decreased your Q's damage at later ranks as well in terms of his base damage, but they have given you a bigger AP ratio by 5%, which really has to do with your scaling. So if you're building a lot of ability power on Twisted Fate, after you get to 3 to 4 items, you're really going to be rewarded in terms of damage because your Q's in the late game will just be hitting harder. Even though the base damage is down, this is just worth it past the 25-30 minute mark. So to be honest, they're not the biggest nerfs in the world, and they probably won't dissuade especially those in higher elo from picking Twisted Fate because of the TP changes. Your ultimate destiny is such a powerful tool, but still he has been nerfed, and this is why he's dropped down to number 15 on the 12.3 countdown. But beating him to number 14 on the countdown is Qiyana. And for Qiyana this patch, maybe the more Malmortius buff might interest you, some more attack damage, ability aids, and the fact you're getting Omnivamp from the shield itself. This is going to be nice, but apart from that, nothing has really changed. Your lethality build, your one-shot potential, all you have to do is get to a serrated Dirk. Even if you're 0-3, you're going to one-shot squishy champions and probably carry game. So she comes in at number 14. Now coming in at number 13 is a champion who does need gold to do well, and this is Cassiopeia. And this patch, there are no nerfs coming to Cass, and this is why she's remaining on this countdown. She's in a very strong position with Archangel Staff, 2600 gold, the new Rylai's Crystal Scepter, 2600 gold, and of course Crown of the Shattered Queen. You can go into those mid lane assassins who are probably going to be really popular this patch. It just cucks them. And because Conqueror's stacking is still at 5 seconds, it's still going to be a nice patch for Cassiopeia. Now beating her to number 12 on the countdown is one of the best AD mid laners, and this is Tryndamere, who to be honest is still not picked enough for how good he actually is. He counters so many meta champions at the moment like Corki and Victor because they just cannot deal with his pressure in terms of the push and also the pressure he puts on the map and the jungler as well, because they have to come and deal with it. They can't just let Tryndamere take the first tower, roam around the map, take their camps. So the map presence and agency this champion can have is enormous. And even though you're probably not interested in any of the item changes to this patch, Tryndamere is still in a very powerful position. But a champion who's probably more suited to the mid lane is coming in at number 11, and this is Lux. And ever since Riot buffed Lux towards the end of last season, so your ultimate is on a 60-second cooldown, your E is dealing more damage, this champion has just been busted. And this is why no surprises here that she has to be on this countdown as well. Now starting off the top 10 is a champion who's been one of the most consistent mid laners forever, to be honest. Like if you're against a close range mid laner, all you have to do is lock in Malzahar and you give yourself the best chance to win that game. But in all seriousness, Malzahar is a very strong mid laner because a bit like Tryndamere, he has amazing push potential and he has a lot of pressure and agency, and he's also notoriously hard to actually kill because of that passive he has. And thanks to the Rylai's Crystal Scepter buff recently, so it's 2600 gold, just like we mentioned for Cassiopeia. This is nice for Malz because it's going to accelerate your scaling, and you are a scaling champion. Once you do get to level 11 and then level 16, it's very hard for the enemy team to actually jump onto you and your backline and actually do anything because of your Nevergrass. But ahead of Malzahar coming in at number 9 on this countdown is a champion who's actually been nerfed this patch just like Twisted Fate, and this is a champion who is dominating pro play as well, and this of course is Corki. And to be honest, after playing against this champion so much in high elo in the last 2 to 3 weeks, it's such a pain when you play against him because of his package and also the damage he deals with the Luden's Tempest setup. And Riot in 12.3 have taken aim specifically at the package. So what they've done, the first package is delayed and the restock cooldown is increased. So instead of restocking every 4 minutes, it's now 5 minutes, and the first package arrives after 10 minutes. So instead of arriving when the Rift Herald spawns, it's now 2 minutes afterwards, so they probably don't have it for the Rift Herald fight if you can take it before that timer. And in terms of the dragons which spawn every 5 minutes, they might not have that because they might be dead, or you might just try to sneak it before Corki actually does get his next package. So these are certainly significant changes for pro play. Will it bring his power down? I mean, he still has all the damage in his kit, right, in terms of his rockets and his items, so maybe not, but definitely a nice change. And let's be honest, the package was just too good. Now ahead of Corki coming in at number 8 is one mid laner who isn't really going to be affected that much by 12.3, and this is a good thing, because for Anivia, you are so strong at the moment. Whether you want to go Crown of the Shattered Queen, whether you want to go Ludens for the damage, whether you want to go Liandry's for the burn against tankier champions, or even Everfrost to lock down those mobile, squishy enemy champions, Anivia is an amazing pick. Archangel Staff, just like I mentioned for Cassiopeia, 2600 gold and also giving you ability haste now is nice, because your cooldowns, especially your Q and W, are kind of long, so once you do get to 2-3 items, you're going to be spamming your spells a lot more, and thanks to the buff to your ultimate that came in at the end of Season 10, where the cooldown is like 1 second in the late game, this is just insane for Anivia, because her ultimate Glacial Storm is the controlling ability in those teamfights, and it can be as well very oppressive during the laning phase because of the slow and the frostbite damage that doubles when the enemy champion is stuck inside of it. And a bit like Anivia, the champion coming in at number 7 on the 12.3 mid laners countdown, this is a champion who isn't really going to be that affected by the changes coming in this patch, and this is Vex. And this is really good news because let's be honest, Vex is one of the most busted champions in the game and probably one of the most annoying to play against in the mid lane. If you're playing a short range champion or even an assassin, Vex is one of the hardest counters to you because you can never really jump onto her because of the fear in her passive, and she also deals a lot of damage, and that ultimate reset, we can't really forget about that. The damage you can deal in teamfights, the resets you can get, it's a bit too much to handle and will continue to be in 12.3. But a champion who might be a little bit harder to handle in solo queue is beating Vex to number 6, and this is Victor. And just like a lot of these mages, this patch, because it was all about bruises, Victor hasn't really been touched, which is good because you're still a very strong champion with the Lich Bane changes from last patch and just the fact that you deal so much damage. So if you're going Sorcerer's Shoes into Luden's Tempest, Shadow Flame, if you can navigate your way out of the laning phase and get to your Sorcerer's Shoes and Mythic Spike without running it down too much, there is no reason why you still can't take over games as Victor in 12.3, just like Vigar, who might be a weak early game champion, but like a lot of mages in the mid lane, you scale like an absolute powerhouse. And thanks to that buff from last patch where Riot improved your stacking in your queue and also reduced his cooldown by a second at each rank, and remember you are maxing this first, you can get so many more stacks now, which means your scaling is accelerated. You hit this a lot sooner in games, because before this change, games would have ended before you actually hit your power spikes around the level 11 and level 16 point. Now this is no longer the case, and Vigar, a bit like Vex, does so well into close range champions because of your cage. It's very hard for them to make plays against you, and if you are against assassins, well, all you have to do is build Crown of the Shattered Queen, and they are completely cut. So Vigar starts off the top 5, but the top 4 champions here, guys, I'm going to break the news to you, and no doubt it's going to upset some of you, but these are all fighter or assassin attack damage champions, and to be honest, I'm just going to list them here, and you can tell me in the comments who you think is going to be the most broken based on the item changes coming into 12.3. So the 4 are Yasuo, Yone, Talon, and Aurelia. Now, in my personal opinion, I think Yone is going to be the most busted because I think his kit out of all of these is the most busted, and the champion scale is the best out of the 4 I've just mentioned. And one of the changes that's going to be super interesting for Yone and those 4 champions is the new Death's Dance. So even though it's costing 3,300 gold, which is 200 gold more expensive, the heal is now based off your bonus attack damage. So in other words, the attack damage you're getting from your items. So this is really going to come into effect in the late game. So once you have Shield Bow, Infinity Edge, GA, and then you build a Death's Dance, there is no way anyone is going to kill you. You have so much innate healing in your kit anyway, you have a shield in your W, your E as well gives you a lot of survivability. I just think that if you get to this point, it's going to be a heck of a lot harder to actually lose than to win. That's how busted he's going to be. And the other 3 champions, Talon, Aurelia, Yasuo, Death's Dance, of course we have to think about it for these champions, but we should also think about the new Gore Drinker specifically for Talon and Aurelia, because it's giving you 10 more attack damage. It might be losing a big chunk of HP, but the attack damage for these champions, your auto attacks, your abilities, you'll be hitting harder, and not only that, but the actual Gore Drinker active will be dealing more damage and you'll be healing for more as well. And the last point to raise for 12.3 is for Aurelia herself and the fact that Blade of the Rune King is just straight out better now. So even though it's costing a little more gold, you're getting more on hit from the passive, an extra 2%, which is huge. Now in the mid lane, it might not mean that much, but here's the thing, most mage items these days have HP attached to them for whatever reason. And let's be honest, when you are side laning in the late game, you might be going against that bruiser from the top lane. So because you'll be dealing more damage based off their HP, this is huge. You will be shredding more of these tankier champions with the HP. So Aurelia is going to be even more of a force with Gore Drinker, Death's Dance, and the new Blade of the Rune King. So these 4 champions have to be considered just like the rest on this countdown, guys, and let me know in the comments who you think is going to be the most broken. And if you did enjoy the video, remember to leave a like down below to let us know. And until tomorrow's daily Season 12 upload, also make sure to hit that subscribe button. This has been the